Hi, I am Prashant Kumar PV, Assistant Professor in CSC, MS Engineering College, Bangalore. In this video, I am going to discuss a new topic in compiler design. So, in our syllabus, it is the fifth module I am going to cover. So, these are the content of the subsequent videos. So, today I will finish first topic, semantic analysis. So already we have seen in the previous few videos we have seen lexical analysis and syntax analysis. These are the two phases of the compiler, beginning phases of the compiler. And after that, semantic analysis will come, then intermediate code generation will come, then finally code generation. Today we will see what is a semantic analysis and how we can translate a high-level language into an object code, and what we have to do in semantic analysis. So under semantic analysis, there are one topic we need to discuss, that is syntax directed translation. That means here the translation is directed by the syntax analysis, or we are doing the semantic analysis along with the syntax analysis. It is not a separate thing, a separate part of compiler. So the translation is directed by syntax of the programming language. There are two things we need to discuss under the topic, that is SDD, that is called syntax directed definition, and second one is translation schemes, and these are the two notations of syntax directed translation. After syntax analysis, our next phase of the compiler is intermediate code generation. So the compiler will generate an intermediate representation of the source program. The previous phases are all analysis phase, like lexical analysis, which analyzing the source program into producing a sequence of tokens. Syntax analysis will read the sequence of token and checking whether it is grammatically correct based on the grammar of the language. So let us see what is a syntax directed translation. Let G is a grammar. We know that G is equal to VTPS. A grammar symbols are associated with attributes. What is a grammar symbol? Grammar symbols are nothing but the symbols present in variable set and terminal sets. So all together we will tell it is as grammar symbols. So each of the grammar symbol is associated with attributes. So what is an attribute? Attribute is a property of that symbols. For example, identifier is a grammar symbol. An identifier has an attribute name of the identifier. And identifier has an attribute memory location. Identifier has an attribute value. Identifier has an attribute type. That means these are the attributes which define that symbol. And in syntax directed translation, what we will do is we will associate grammar symbols with the attributes. Grammar symbols are associated with the attribute to associate information with the programming language construct that they represent. See these attributes as values. For example, type of an identifier. Sometimes it is integer, sometimes it is float and character. So these are the values of the attribute type. So that value of the attribute are evaluated by semantic rules. So what we will do in the syntax analysis is we will identify what is the semantic rules of the attribute associated with the grammar symbols. And while evaluating the semantic rule, we will get the value of the attribute. And the semantic rules we are associating with the production rules of the grammar symbol. And production rules we have formed by using grammar symbols. Then look at what are the things we can evaluate by evaluating the semantic rules. See, we can generate intermediate code while evaluating the semantic rules. And we can put some information into the symbol table, because while evaluating the semantic rule, you will get a memory location of the symbols, or the type of the symbols, or value of the symbols. So that these information we can update in the symbol table. It may perform some time checking also, because while evaluating the semantic rule, we will get types and we can check whether its type is perfectly matching type checking we can do by evaluating semantic rules, and if it is wrong, then we can produce error message. And moreover, the evaluation of semantic rules yield many things, and it is a lot of activity that we can do by evaluating the semantic rules. The syntax, there are two notations that we can use to associate semantic rules with the production. There are two notations that we can use. One is called syntax directed definition, and second one is translation schemes. These are the two notations which will help us to associate semantic rules with the production of the grammar. Yeah, then let us see generally what is a syntax directed definition. So syntax directed definition will give a high level specification for translations. That means see, we know that we are trying to translating the source program into object program. So we need to analyze the grammatical structure of the source program, and while doing that, these additional things that we are attaching, that we are associating with the production, will help us for the translation, and hide many implementation details such as order of evaluation of semantic actions. So what syntax directed definition? It's a general specification of the context-free grammar, and it will not tell the implementation detail. That is, we associate production rule with a set of semantic action, and we do not say when they will be evaluated. The evaluation order is not mentioned in the syntax directed definition, and we need to find out what is the evaluation order of the semantic rules associated with the production of the grammar. But in the case of translation scheme, here we indicate the order of evaluation of the semantic action associated with the production rule. So that's the one main difference between translation scheme and syntax directed definition. Here in translation scheme, the position of the rule, semantic rules associated with the production will give the order of the evaluation of the semantic rule. Implementation aspect, if you are checking, translation schemes will help more, but for the understanding purpose we are checking, then syntax directed definition is more helpful. Then we will focus on syntax directed definition, and we will discuss later what is a translation scheme. So in syntax directed translation, it is a generalization of a context-free grammar. So it is nothing but it is a context-free grammar itself, and we are adding some more things on context-free grammar, which is not present and which is not required while doing syntax analysis. But while doing semantic analysis, this type of extra thing is required. What is that generalization? Let us say a grammar symbol is associated with a set of attributes. So grammar symbol is associated with attributes. So identifying the attributes of the grammar symbol. This set of attributes are, the set of attributes for a grammar symbol is partitioned into two subsets. One is called a synthesized attribute, and second one is called inherited attributes. So a set of attributes are there, and we are partitioned into two subsets. One is called synthesized attribute, the other one is called inherited attribute. And this classification is based on how we evaluating the value of the attributes. Based on that, the classification of the attributes we have performed. And each production rule is associated with a set of semantic rule, and evaluating the semantic rule will yield the value of the synthesized attribute or inherited attribute. Then what is a synthesized attribute? Let me know that if suppose we are checking a statement and checking its grammar, the main thing is we will construct the parse tree, and if we are successful in constructing the parse tree, then we will say it is a grammatically correct statement. So parse tree is the construction, the concept of verification is nothing but the construction of parse tree, and if we are successful in construction, then we will say it is a grammatically correct statement. So the synthesized attribute is value of the attribute at a node is calculated from the value of the attribute at the children of that nodes in the parse tree. For example, so we are calculating, see, is a node, we are calculating value of the attribute of this node, and this is done with the help of what? Value of the attribute of its children. See, for example, it has two child 1 and child 2, and its value is calculated by using the attribute value of this node and this node, and these two are the children of this node. Such attributes are called synthesized attribute. Okay, the values of inherited attributes of a node is computed from the values of the attribute at the siblings and or parents of that nodes. For example, it's node 1, node 2, node 3. This is the parent, and we can connect these nodes. Okay, so I'm calculating the attribute value of this node. So the attribute value of this node I have calculated with the help of attribute value of this node and this node. These two are the siblings. Then this attribute is an inherited attribute. Another way, the attribute value of this node depends on this one, and this one. That means siblings as well as parents. Then also it is an inherited attribute. Third case is the attribute value of this node is depends on parents. It's not depends on siblings. Then also it is inherited attributes. So in short, we can say the attribute values of a node depends on its parent as well as siblings. It not depends on its children. Then such attributes are called inherited attributes. Synthesized attributes are those attributes its value is depends on its children, and inherited attributes are the attributes of a node its value is depends on its sibling and or its parent. Semantic rules set up dependency. We know that the attributes value is depends on either parents or siblings or children of a node. There is a dependency. So that dependency we are using to construct a graph. So that graph is called a dependency graph. So once we identify the attribute and identify the type of attribute that inherited or synthesized the attribute, after that identifying the relationship, then drawing the graph, that graph is called a dependency graph. The dependency graph determines the evaluation order of the semantic rules. So once you finish the dependency graph and perform the topological sorting of the dependency graph, then you will get an evaluation order of the semantic rules. And we know that what is a topological sorting. We can sort a graph in a particular way, that is called topological sorting. So after performing the topological sorting, you will get a list of nodes of the graph, and that list will give you the order of evaluation of the semantic rules. Dependency graph depict the flow of information among the attribute instance, because we know that these attributes are depends each other, either they are inherited or synthesized attributes, and this dependency we can depict by using dependency graph. That is why a dependency graph in short will show you a flow of information among the attributes instance. The evaluation of a semantic rules define the value of the attribute, that already I told. But a semantic rule may have some side effect, such as printing a value. Annotated parse tree. Then what is meant by annotated parse tree? So we have associated semantic rule to the production. So this type of production we can use for constructing the parse tree. And a parse tree showing the value of the attribute at each node is called an annotated parse tree. That is, annotated parse tree is a parse tree itself, and that parse tree contains many nodes, that is external node and internal node, etc. And we are associating attribute to the nodes of the parse tree, and we are finding values of the attributes, then showing the values of the attribute on each nodes, then you will get an annotated parse tree. The process of computing the attributes value at the node is called annotating or decorating the parse tree. So the process of computing the attribute value at the node of a parse tree, annotated parse tree, is called annotating or decorating. Of course, the order of this computation depends on the dependency graph induced by the semantic rules, because this dependency graph is drawn based on the dependency relationship of the semantic rules. So the order we can derive from the topological sorting of the dependency graph. Then formally, what is a syntax-directed definition? And we have seen that syntax-directed definition is a generalization of a context-free grammar, and we are associating attributes and finding semantic root to the production, etc. So in general, formally, a syntax-directed definition is, in a grammar contain productions, and each production of the form A gives alpha is associated with a set of semantic rules. You know that we are associating semantic rules to the production, and production is of the form A gives alpha, and the semantic rules is of the form B gives f of C1, C2, etc. Cn, and B is an attribute, but f is a function, and C1, C2, Cn's are other attributes. And we can say that two things with respect to B. These are the two things. One is B is a synthesized attributes of A, because A is the parent. So for this production we can write like this. Here we can write A, and this is our whole, we can say this is alpha. Okay, then B is a synthesized attribute of A, because B is a synthesized attribute of A, and C1, C2, Cn's are attributes of the grammar symbol in the production A gives alpha. That means C1, C2, C3, etc. are what? Attributes of its children's. Then B is a synthesized attribute. Another equation is B is a inherited attributes of one of the grammar symbol in alpha. B is one of the grammar symbol in B is a inherited attribute of one of the grammar symbols present in alpha. Then there are some other siblings and parents also. Then C1, C2, etc. Cn are the attributes of siblings or its parent. These are the formal way of defining syntax-directed definition. So here is nothing but we have to define what is the attribute, and we need to find the semantic rule for evaluating the attribute, and we need to attach the semantic rule to the production. This is what syntax-directed definition. So a context-free grammar with few more information, that is what a syntax-directed definition. So a semantic rule is of the form, usually we will write B is equal to f of C1, C2, etc. Cn, indicate the attribute B depends on the attribute C1, C2, etc. Cn. The dependency is defined by f, and the syntax direct definition, the semantic rule may just evaluate the value of the attribute, or it may have some side effects such as printing value. And what is an attribute grammar? An attribute grammar is a syntax directed definition in which the function in the semantic rule cannot have side effects. If the syntax directed definition is free from side effect, then that grammar is called the attribute grammar. Why it is called attribute grammar? Because we are associating attribute to the grammar symbol and we are finding semantic action to the productions of the honestly grammar. Let us see one example how we can define semantic rule and how we can identify attributes. So this grammar is a famous grammar. We know that this grammar is called arithmetic expression grammar, and we have used this grammar many times for constructing different type of passes. Let us see here one more production we have added. With this, L gives E and finally a return. L gives E return. That means previously we have E as the root, and whenever we reach the root, then that is the end of the pass tree. After root, if you have a return, then that indicates the end of the statement. That is why this returns comes. Okay, nothing else extra. So E gives E1 plus T, where E1 is same symbol as E itself, just for distinguishing between this C with this C. That's why we put E1. E gives T and T gives T1 star F, and here T1 is same as that of T, and just for understanding, just for distinguishing the head T with the body of the production. T gives F, F gives within bracket E, and F gives digit. Okay. Then let us see here what is the semantic rule associated with the production. First one is print E dot val. So we will write the attribute of a symbol X as X dot B, where B is an attribute and X is a node, X is a grammar symbol. Then its attribute of X is written just like X dot B. So that's why E is a node, then E dot val, where val is the attribute. Print E dot val. Then E is E1 plus T, then this is the semantic rule. That means E dot val is equal to E1 dot val plus T dot val. E is T is as E dot val is equal to T dot val. T is T star F is equal to T dot val is equal to T1 dot val star F dot val. And T gives F is this one, and F within bracket ID is this one, and F is digit is, look at F dot value is equal to digit dot lex value, and digit dot lex value. The token digit has a attribute lex value, and that lex value is evaluated by the lexical analyzer. So that's why we return as lex value. Look at here, E, T, F are associated with the synthesized attribute val. So here we are considering only one attribute VAL, and that is a synthesized attribute. So this is an example for syntax directed definition with the synthesized attribute alone. A digit has a synthesized attribute lex val. It is assumed that it is evaluated by the lexical analyzer. Okay, so this is syntax directed definition. And our look at one input 5 plus 3 star 4, that is the input. Then this is nothing but our parse tree, and this parse tree consists of root L, and inner nodes are all non-terminals and external nodes are all terminal symbols. You can see here digit plus digit star digit. So that is what this digit plus digit star digit. And for an instance, the digit has a value. So who will evaluate? Lexical analyzer will evaluate that. So lex value is equal to 5, and here lex value is equal to 3, here lex value is equal to 4. Then here we have associating one attribute dot val, and we are finding what is the value of that attribute VAL. In each node dot val is there. So here it is 17, here it is 5, 5, 5, 12, 3, 4, etc. So that is why it is an annotated parse tree. We have decorated the parse tree by associating the attribute with the value. So this value is obtained by evaluating the semantic rule associated with the production. So this is the semantic rule and this is the production. And we have constructed this parse tree by using these productions. Okay. Then let us see one example. Here this is one node, and val is the synthesized attributes of this node. This is another node, and val is the synthesized attribute. This is the third node. We are considering these three nodes. So val is the attribute, and this is what? Middle plus. So E, it has three children, 1, 2, 3, and E dot value is the attribute that is evaluated by using E dot val and T dot val. That means the value of E dot val and value of T dot val. The equation is E dot val is equal to E1 dot val plus T dot val. So we can say that the 17 is obtained by adding 5 plus 12. That means E dot val depends on E dot val and T dot val. So the dependency graph very easily you can construct. So if there is a dependency from children to parent, then the arrow is like this. Here also one dependency is there. Yeah. Okay. Finally, here we have a statement like print statement. We have that E dot value we need to print. That means there is a dependency. E dot value is 17, so that we need to print. So this is the node. So L we will print as E dot value. And look at here, E dot value, this 5 is obtained by T dot value. That means this node is the child of E dot value. So its attribute is the relationship. Then here you can say that this relationship exists, and this is what external node is the relationship. Okay, here and here, these are the two nodes, and T dot val depends on T dot val plus F dot value. So the graph is like this. Okay. So finally you can see that this is the final graph. E dot value, here arrow is from E dot val to E dot value, T dot val to E dot value, in all upward direction, because F dot val depends on digit dot x value. We will give F dot value. So here, so this is the dependency graph. Here we can say that E dot values depends on E dot value and T dot value. T dot values depends on T dot value and F dot value. So that is why it is a dependency graph. If you saw this dependency graph, you will get a sequence of nodes, and that sequence of node will give you the order of evaluation of the semantic rule. That means this node will come only after this node and this node. That is in the topological sorting. And this node will come only after these two nodes. And this node will come only after this node. This is the order. This is the way if you are sorting this graph with topological sorting, because that direction is such a way, it's a directed graph. So in such a way, if you perform topological sorting, since this graph, dependency graph, there is no cycle. If cycle is there, then there is no order. We can't sort the graph if cycle is there. Topological sort we can't perform. If graph is free from cycle, then definitely one topological sort will obtain. So that will give the order of evaluation of the semantic rule. Okay, this is another example, and I am not discussing this example. Yeah, then look at C. This is a syntax direct definition, and here we are considering only inherited attribute. In previous example, we have seen syntax directed definition with the synthesized attribute. And this is a grammar, and this grammar is nothing but a type grammar. So this grammar is for checking the type of a type definition. For example, suppose we are writing int x comma y, index comma y, then we are checking whether this is grammatically correct, and we can use this grammar. D is declaration, gives type and followed by definition of the variables. And what is a type? Type may be integer, type may be real, or L. What is the definition of the variables? Like L1 comma T. Here you can put comma also. L1 comma ID. And L gives ID. So this is the production, and the corresponding rules is L dot in is equal to T dot type. So L dot in, in is a inherited attribute of the node L, and that depends upon T dot type. And T is the next production, then T dot type is equal to integer. Type is a synthesized attribute. T dot type is equal to real is a synthesized attribute. Then look at here again, L1 dot in depends on L dot in. So it is again a inherited attribute. And one more semantic rules are there. Add type id dot entry comma L1 dot in. So add type means we need to add the type of id as L dot in into the symbol table. That is this function written here. So this is a function actually. We need to add type of id as L dot in. What is L dot in? What is the value of L dot in that we have to add to the symbol table, the type of id. And I'll use id. So this is the type. So this is the same thing. The type of id is L dot in. T is associated with the synthesized attribute type. L is associated with the inherited attribute in. So this is a type definition grammar. This is the semantic rules. And for example, one input of the function real p space q. So this is the parse tree. D will start from D and T comma TL. D is TL. T is real. And L is expanded as L ID. Suppose if you have comma, then you will put a comma here. Okay. And suppose you are using here semicolon, then you can put here semicolon. L comma ID, then L is expanded as ID. So this is our parse tree for the input real PQ. You look at here. First of all, T dot type is equal to real because its attribute value, T has attribute value type, that is synthesized attribute, and synthesized from its children real. So T dot type is equal to real. Fine. Okay. Then look at L dot in is equal to real. So it is obtained from T dot type. L dot in is equal to T dot type. Then look at here. L1 dot in is obtained from L dot in. That is, this attribute value is obtained from its parent. And here also, see this Q is a variable, or we can say identifier. Its type is obtained from its parent node. So it is equal to real, and we have to add the type of Q in the symbol table as real, and it is obtained from its parent. So that's why it's a inherited attribute. Actually, Q is obtained from symbol table id.entry, and real is obtained from its parent L dot in. Same way, add type, here we can say that P is obtained from symbol table id.entry, because we already identified by analyzing the statement by the lexical analyzer, it has added P into symbol table. And what is its type? By performing what semantic analysis, the type we will obtain, we will get type. The type is from its parent L1.in. So that's why we can say it's real. This attribute is obtained from its parent. So that's why arrow. Okay, so that's why this is the dependency graph.